you're looking at Tama Red Badge. This is a snare drum that I got with a kit of the same series. It's the matching series. Pause. I'll show that to you. So here is a tom of that same kit. Cherry red, Corvette red. It looks a little orange there, but it's Corvette red here. The number here is 83. Hold on one second. So I'm back. So here is the matching kit. Now this says 1983. When you look here, there's the year, which is really practical. They don't do this all the time anymore. There's the year, and then the serial number. So I assume, I didn't check, but I assume that they're consecutive, these numbers. However, the snare drum is in 1982. That doesn't mean it didn't come with the kit, but it's okay, it doesn't matter. They're all red badge. And the snare drum that I got this kit with is the one that you would normally get with this kit in 1982, 1983, whatever. So what is a swing star? Well, swing star, Tama swing star is not at all what it has become. Tama swing star in the 80s, the early 80s, was a line under the Imperial Star brand, the Imperial Star series of Tama. And the Imperial Star, I think the Royal Star, I don't know exactly the order of these series, but the Imperial Star, I know, was headed by, Billy Cobham. And notably, the snare drum at least, and I almost want to say the drums too, Stuart Copeland. Stuart Copeland was playing, for sure, the King Beat at some point. Now the King Beat snare drum, the T here is in black. This is how it's very easy to recognize Tama Red Badges, swing stars of the 80s, the early 80s, because it's the same logo, same kind of T, but in, well, this one's in red, and the Imperial Star's in black. Now, these ones are kind of indestructible drums. So, I originally got the kit for the snare drum. And the kit, it came at such an amazing price. It's like, well, I'm just going to buy the whole thing. I want the snare drum. So, the price I bought it for, the snare alone would have cost that much, unless I found some guy that didn't know what he had. But so I just said, okay, I'm going to buy the whole thing. This series, they're indestructible. Go online, check them out. They have a coating in here, a gray, notoriously gray coating of some kind that was meant to handle weather, rain, cold, touring, cabin pressure, all that kind of stuff, you know. And they advertise it as such. They are really, 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 really strong drums. You don't have to worry about banging them around, or like I said, playing in the rain, or having rain suddenly appear at one of your shows. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, and the wrap obviously protects anything like that happening as well. Stuart, I remember he was playing black ones. They did come in lacquer finishes, I think the Imperial Stars. The Swing Stars, I don't think so. But anyway, so this is the matching kit, or at least the one that I have, Corvette Red. But, so what is so awesome about this these vintage red badges, right? It's quite amazing. What you're essentially looking at here is a king beat. You're essentially looking at the heart of a king beat. Now, what is the king beat? The king beat is the drum that you know very well if you listen to the Police. The king beat is the drum that Stuart Copeland's playing for a lot of that. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I see him on recordings. And I'm sure he traded up, as we all do from time to time, different drums, whatever. I think at one moment, I heard somewhere, maybe he was using the Pearl Deluxe or something. It's a brass drum of the same period. I forget what that's called, but anyway, it's a really great Pearl drum, brass shell, chromed. This one is not brass. However, it's a seamless shell. This is seamless steel. I don't know if you won't be able to see it, but I'll just do it anyway for you. See inside there, if you go all the way around, let's just do this here, right? You don't. That's not a line. That's just a little mark. You go all the way around, you will not see a line. Okay? Nothing. There we go. Back to the front. So it's a seamless metal snare, steel, and the gauge of the steel is really, really what you would expect it to be, having been made in the 80s, the early 80s, maybe the late 70s, I don't know, but definitely the early 80s. This is 1982, so everything was much more robust, and they were just going to town with the quality. You could see that even on the lower, quote unquote, lower end models, it's still higher than the equivalent lower end models today. SwingStar today is not even close to what this kit is, the SwingStar of the 80s. Not even close. Unlike other companies, like for example, the Pearl Exports in the 80s and the 90s, today the Pearl Export is way better than it used to be in the 80s and 90s. Today, a Pearl Export, you'll find lacquer finishes, sunburst, with a sunburst effect. You'll find rubber gaskets around the lugs. You'll find a better suspension system, the mounting thing on the rim. So I think you even find wooden hoops on the bass drum. So it's way better. SwingStar, not the case. The earlier version is 1,000 times better. So again, you're basically looking at a king beat minus three things, which do add up. I do admit they do add up. One of which is the lugs. You can notice a difference between a SwingStar of the 80s, early 80s, and the Imperial Stars, or the King Beats, whatever, snare drum. The lug is different. It's not so sharp. A rectangle, it's a rounded off. The edges are rounded off a little bit more, a little buttery. The strainer, the butt end here, but notably this part, the strainer, this kind of reminds you of what a Ludwig would be, but it's way more robust. It's not heavy. I mean, it's not like a light, tinny, aluminum, probably tin, what those Ludwigs everybody knows. Like, the sound is great, but when you get to the strain, you're like, man, this sounds it feels so weak. This one it feels like of the same steel as the shell, and it's you can even hear the click. It's solid, high gauge steel. All of this. So it's awesome. I mean, we're looking at 40-year-old at least strainer, and it's still pristine. It's still shiny and nice. Yeah. I even think this head is the same. Anyway, notice they get the muffler inside. on the SwingStar snare, which is a really, really nice feature to have. Totally, it's a really nice feature to have. But again, it's kind of rare to see that on a lower end model these days. Even the higher end models these days don't have them. But anyway, so the lugs, the strainer, the butt end as well. The SwingStar has 8 lugs going around, and the King Beat has 10. And there were variations of the rims. The King Beat has die-cast rims, but there were variations. There were triple flanged. I believe so. I was looking at the catalog. It appeared like that. But definitely, I think most of us know the King Beat with die-cast tubes and not triple flanged tubes. However, these triple flange tubes are burning. They're really, really same deal, super heavy gauge triple flange tubes. I wrote some numbers down here just so I don't mess up for you. This one, the red badge, is the 6075. So when you go into like Tama catalogs, they incidentally have a great archive of all of their stuff, ranging back well past the 60s. And you can check out all of their material. That's just a great thing that they did. So props to Tama for doing that. 6075, this one. And then when you get into the next level, which is the Imperial Stars, the King Beats and stuff, it goes to 8065 and then 8005. And we're talking about all of the drums at 14 by 5. Or 5.5, but not the deeper ones. They do have the deeper versions, right? And the difference between the 8065 and the 8005, when you get into the King Beat section, is the strainer and the butt plate. They're different. I don't know why they did that, but they're different. And that's it. Hold on. So, sorry about that. So, so it's just the strainer and the butt plate that's really kind of different. I don't know why they did that. I don't know. I actually, I don't understand. You know, strainers, they definitely add or take away from the sound because there's more bulkiness stuff, there's more stuff attached to the drum, and that somehow adds up. It's like a bass pedal. Somehow the weights and the size and the springs of the Camco add up to making it awesome. So somehow that stuff adds up, and then I guess time only tells if it was a good combination or not. Now, what's so big about this video? Well, what I'm basically saying is, if you're on a tight budget, and most of us drummers are, and we're all looking for the go-to things, this drum is basically, you're going to get a Stuart Copeland sound from this drum. You're going to get Police, that cracking power, confidence on this drum. And I've seen prices on eBay or your local, you know, everybody seems to have their local store that's not eBay but like eBay, where you find them for $50, you know. So I've seen prices range from people who don't know what they have, $50, to $300, people who do know what they have. Because, and rightfully so, this drum definitely deserves that kind of price tag. If you know what I wouldn't give it away for $50, for example. I'm not giving it away. This is probably this is the heaviest 14 by 5 that I have, and there's no reason that I would need to get another one, because this one feels like a tank. It completely fulfills my desires of a 14 by 5 heavy steel drum. So this is totally uh, a steal if you can find it for a cheap price. Like I said, I bought mine. I bought this drum with the whole kit. Because it was just the guy was selling the kit with the drum at the price that the drum would normally be at. So I was like, yes. So you're basically getting that Stuart Copeland sound. Now, when I tune this up, here is one of the tricks that people don't talk about very much. I think because everybody's so interested in having a good sound that they don't talk about how to get their good sound. The secrets of it. Anyway, one of those secrets to getting good sounds on drums, you can get a well-rounded, full ringy sound if you do basically like the John Bonham approach, which is you tighten the top head and you tighten the bottom head, you push your hand in the center, go around star-wise until the wrinkles go out of the top head or both heads, and you pretty much have a good sound on a drum. Now, it's pretty good. You can do that with any size, basically. But it's still going to be very open. And then muffling and all that stuff is, to each his own. One of the things to do with this drum that works phenomenally well, if ever you get one, is to detune the bottom head. So you can crank up the top to your desired liking, but detune the bottom head. So it's very not completely loose, but it's way, way, way lower than the top head. And when you do that, you will get a crack from this drum that is phenomenal. Let me see, but obviously, I'm doing this. That probably just blew my phone microphone away. Anyway, that's what it did. You see that? So, it's a crack that is just really, really, really nice, and solid and confident, and what you're looking for. I think I tend to like the 6.5 by 14 sizes in drums, in snare drums, or larger. So if I were to ever find a swing star in that, I guess it would be the 8065. I don't know if they did swing stars at that size. I don't think so. It would have to be a King Beat 8065 or 8005 at 6.5. That would definitely be just, no need to search for drums anymore after that. At least a snare drum of that caliber. Just subtopic. These strips here, I lost. I didn't have any more plastic strips or nylon or whatever to secure this. So you know what works in that case? This is from packing. From, those cardboard boxes that deliver heavy appliances. These strips here, they work awesome. It's been on this for I don't know how many years, maybe 3 years, 4 years. They're burning. So instead of spending $10 or $20 or however much it is where you're at, just take some of this. It works great. It's great, and it's really thin. So, boom. Another little secret. So, again, go-to drum. If you're in a hardcore punk band, you're in a hardcore rock band, I'm using this for jazz because I found that this drum, unlike my other drums, of this 5" by 14, I can get with this tuning a kind of natural reverb in it. It has a when you play it right, it lightly, there's a kind of reverb. And when if you ever listen to Elvin Jones, and you listen to a snare drum with the wood hoops, or you listen to Steve Jordan, but certainly Elvin Jones. Go check out Elvin Jones, that snare drum he has with the wooden hoops. That drum has a kind of natural reverb to it, especially when you do rim shots, and it's very nice. It's a sound that that complements your comping in a jazz situation without having to deal with that what is sometimes kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Annoying ring that a metal drum might have. So that reverb is not. I'm not talking about a ring. It's this kind of reverb, this kind of epic thing that this does, and so I'm using it for that. In the same way, any funk song, James Brown, this is definitely the drum to use out of my setup here. I'm looking back here. Yeah, the Acrolite is a great drum, but it's aluminum, so that's basically there's very little ring. There's no reverb at all with that. This is the Steve Gadd sound. It's very chunky. It's very 70s. It's very Fleetwood Mac. It's very, that kind of vibe. Clapton, Steve Gadd, Paul Simon. Really nice sound, really easily controllable sound. But there's no reverby. There's no James Brown sound in that drum for me. So Tama Red Badge from the 80s. If you find one at a yard sale or online and it's like $50, stop what you're doing and get it. Get it. You will not be disappointed. You go online, read up on what everybody else is saying about this. It's built like a brick, like a tank. You're basically getting King Beat quality for maybe half the price. A seamless steel snare from Tama from the early 80s for $50. You see one, you drop what you're doing and you get it. Trust me, you'll love it. So there you go. This one is a 6075. That's the serial number, or that's the model number. Tama Red Badge from the early 80s. Check it. Ciao.